So next on the show, I want to take a look at a brand new animated film that has just been released in Australia today. This is an animated movie that actually originally comes from Mexico. All the voices and everything have been redubbed to fit the Australian and American and the British market, or the English-speaking market, I should probably say. But this is absolutely a fantastic little animated film that, if it wasn't for the cinema world being so affected by COVID at the moment, probably would have gone by the wayside. Now, the film here in Australia has been released as Cranston Academy Monster Zone. In other places, it's just called Monster Zone. I'm sure the fact that it's called Cranston Academy Monster Zone is that the creators want to actually make more of these movies down the track. But what this film is actually all about is there's a little bit of Harry Potter to this film, I'll warn you. The lead character, Danny, voiced by Jamie Bell, is a student that at his high school is bullied because he's really into science. In fact, he's a genius, to be absolutely honest, but that genius is not being recognized at his school at all. Not only does he get bullied, but he also finds himself kind of being put down by a teacher as well, who doesn't like his nanobots that he creates for a science experiment. Instead, she gives it to one of the popular kids who's just gone with the lame, look at this, I can make a volcano spit out lava, I guess you could call it. So from there, he ends up getting spotted by a headmistress from this very, very kind of unique school called the Cranston Academy, which is for science geniuses. Now, you would think that this would, telling a Harry Potter story, that it would end up being that he automatically goes there and he's kind of hailed a hero. That's not what happens here, and that's one of the things I liked about this film, is that Danny has so many obstacles put in his way for him to succeed, that this actually makes this a great film for kids to go and see, especially kids that have had trouble with school in the past. Now, when Danny arrives at this brand new school, the headmistress is all for him being there, of course, because she selected him, but the first teacher he meets decides that he doesn't really want Danny there either. Doesn't feel like there should be a room at the school for someone on a scholarship. It's almost like that muggle versus wizard witch thing in Harry Potter, where this teacher doesn't feel that Danny is good enough to be at the school because he's there on a scholarship. So he's on top of Danny from day one. And Danny quickly learns that this school is the next step up too. He gets 99% for one of the things that he does, and it's a fail. You have to get 100% at this school. So Danny very quickly meets Liz, who's voiced by Ruby Rose, who, of course, most Aussies would know from her radio work and her DJ work here, but also from her work in Batwoman and things like that as well. She's done a bunch of films now as well. So, you got Ruby Rose voicing Liz. Now, Liz just happens to be the daughter of the scientist that Danny looks up to the most, but don't think that means that they get off on the right foot straight away. In fact, Liz kind of doesn't like Danny when she first meets him, and she's less than impressed when she finds out that she has to share a room with him, I should say. Now, Danny knows that the only way he's going to get to stay at Cranston Academy is if he comes up with some brilliant science experiment. He decides that he's going to fix up this old kind of reactor thing that's at the school that hasn't worked for years. And as he sets it up, he accidentally opens a portal into another dimension and brings through a kind of friendly monster who's got a little bit of a danger side called Mothman. Now, with the help of Mothman and Liz, Danny soon realizes that he is on the edge of a huge scientific discovery. But unfortunately, when he opened up that portal, he let a whole bunch of monsters into Cranston Academy who are now sucking the brains out of students and teachers alike. It's up to Danny, Liz, and Mothman to try and fix up all of this. Now, I'll admit I really enjoyed this film. I'm not the target audience for it, obviously, being a male in his 40s. But look, I more than enjoyed it. This is the kind of thing when I was a kid that if I'd watched it, I would have really enjoyed it. I think kids today will enjoy this film as well. It's kind of upbeat and it's modern. There's nothing in there that you would really watch and kind of groan because it's like old school or anything like that. I'm really surprised that we haven't seen more work over the years from this company in Mexico. This is equal to anything that's coming out in Hollywood, and I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen stuff like it before. There's people online who have been kind of cruel to this, talking about like the characters having 4 fingers and stuff like that. It's like, well, it's their universe. They can kind of do what they like with that kind of thing. The only thing that I kind of felt was a little bit weird was they kind of set his dog, Danny's dog, up as a character very early on in this film, and then he just disappeared. So yeah, I kind of might have liked to have seen a little bit more of that. I also would have liked to have seen more of the students around the school as well. I mean, even in Harry Potter, you see other kids at the school, apart from Harry's friends. Like, yeah, there's Hermione and Ron, but there's also like other kids at the school that we kind of get to see fairly regularly throughout the series. People like Seamus, and of course the bad characters. I think one of the things that kind of makes this film a little bit different to what we're normally used to is he doesn't really have any kind of human villains against him when it comes to other kids. Once he goes to Cranston Academy, he's just got this grumpy teacher that seems to have it in for him. So, but look, I guess part of the reason why the company did that was they wanted to try and keep the budget down. So they've kind of tried to cut this back to as little amount of cast as for voice actors as they possibly could. Jamie Bell is fantastic as a voice actor for Danny. Ruby Rose, the same for Liz. I really love the fact that there's times in this where they kind of let Liz say Aussie things. Like at one point she says, "Oh, bloody hell," but says it in a real Australian accent. So I kind of liked that aspect to it too, and I think that'll make Aussie kids kind of warm to this movie a little bit more because they'll have that opportunity to hear something very, very familiar for them. But look, if you're going to the cinemas these school holidays and you want to go along and see a film that the whole family is going to enjoy, certainly take them along to see Cranston Academy Monster Zone. It's probably for your primary school aged kids. Having said that, though, I know some nieces and nephews of mine that will probably enjoy going along and seeing this as well as teenagers because they kind of like that kind of retro kind of thing when it comes to films like this. But look, yeah, take your young'uns along to see it, definitely. And if you're listening to this on our podcast or through our radio show, we're actually giving away a chance for people to go along and see this with a family pass. So make sure you check our socials and our website for that as well. But look, Cranston Academy, for me, more than passable animated film for the entire family. 3 out of 5. Go along and see it.